Welcome to this edition of News Today, a series where we briefly discuss and analyze important news of the day. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. Union Cabinet has approved the Pradhan Matsya Kisan Samridhi Sah-Yojana under Pradhan Matsya Sah-Yojana. Smart Cities Mission and Evaluation Report presented to Lok Sabha. Annual National E-Governance Service Delivery Assessment Way Forward Report 2023 has been released. Parliamentary Standing Committee report on review of the working of legal aid under the Legal Services Authorities Act 1987. Supreme Court has criticized the National Green Tribunal trend of passing ex-parte orders. Detecting methane emissions from space in India, a study by Indian Space Research Organisation. Starting with the first news. Union Cabinet has approved the Pradhan Matsya Kisan Samridhi Sah-Yojana under Pradhan Matsya Yojana. PM-MKSSY Samridhi Sah-Yojana is a central sector sub-scheme under the Pradhan Matsya Yojana. PM-MKSSY Yojana aims to bring about the blue revolution through sustainable and responsible development of the fisheries sector in India. The other component of the scheme is the centrally sponsored scheme. The PM-MKSSY Samridhi Sah-Yojana aims to formalize the fisheries sector and to support fisheries, micro and small enterprises. Now let's also talk about the key features of PM-MKSSY Samridhi Sah-Yojana. The period of the scheme is between financial year 2023-24 to financial year 2026-27 in all states and union territories. A total outlay of Rs 6,000 crore has been allocated, with 50% by public finance, including the World Bank and the Agence Française de Développement of France, and 50% will be invested from the beneficiaries or private sector leverage. Its intended beneficiaries are fishers, fish farmers, fish workers and fish vendors, limited liability partnerships, cooperatives and federations, village-level organizations like self-help groups and fish farmers producers organization. The components of the implementation strategy include formalization of fisheries sector and facilitating access to fisheries micro-enterprises. For this purpose, a national fisheries digital platform will be created. Facilitating adoption of aquaculture insurance, supporting micro-enterprises to improve fisheries sector value chain efficiencies, adoption and expansion of fish and fishery product, safety and quality assurance systems, and project management, monitoring and reporting proposed to set up project management units. Further, if we talk about some related developments in the fisheries sector, then these include Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund or FIDF. The Union Cabinet has extended FIDF launched in 2018-19 for another 3 years up to 2025-26. It aims to create and modernize fisheries infrastructure. National Fisheries Development Board in Hyderabad, it is a nodal implementing agency. And at last, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development or NABARD, National Cooperatives Development Corporation and all scheduled banks are to act as nodal lending institutions.
Moving on to the next news. Smart Cities Mission or SCM, an evaluation report presented to Lok Sabha. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Housing and Urban Affairs assessed the issues and challenges affecting progress of Smart Cities Mission or SCM in the report. First, let's start by understanding what is the Smart Cities Mission. The Smart Cities Mission is a centrally sponsored scheme which was launched in 2015. Its primary objective is to promote cities that provide core infrastructure, clean and sustainable environment and give decent quality of life through the application of smart solutions in their daily lives. Till date, 100 cities have been selected through City Challenge process in 4 rounds. Now, let's look at some of the key issues highlighted in the report. Project management and implementation. The frequent changing and dropping of projects, lack of adequate financial progress and inter-city disparity in physical progress of implementation acts as a challenge. The lack of integrated monitoring mechanism and lack of cross-city learning along with lesser emphasis on core infrastructure projects such as social infrastructure and smart energy adds to the concern. Another issue faced is the governance and capacity. The frequent transfer of smart city CEOs along with the lack of defined governance structure and monitoring capacity and inadequate consultation with public representatives. Also, the lack of execution capability in smart cities of Himalayan and northeastern region and small union territories act as an issue. Now, let us have a look at the recommendations for the Smart Cities Mission. The master plan for greenfield development should be spearheaded by the Union Ministry. Fixed tenure for CEOs or Smart Cities Special Purpose Vehicles or SPVs for better implementation of ongoing projects. involving third-party assessment of SCM projects along with launch of Phase 2 of the SCM, covering large number of cities and areas utilizing experience and expertise of SPVs. Further, emphasizing more on pan-city projects, focusing on implementing technology-driven solutions for ensuring comprehensive and holistic development.
Moving on to the next news. Annual National E-Governance Service Delivery Assessment Way Forward Report 2023 has been released. The report, released by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances, highlights initiatives taken towards enhancing e-service delivery. E-service delivery involves delivery of public or other services such as receipt of forms and applications, issue or grant of license, and receipt or payment of money through electronic mode. Now let's have a look at the key highlights of the report. Jammu and Kashmir provides the most number of e-services, that is 1,117 across all states and UTs. Also, 76% mandatory e-services are currently available, which is an increase from 48% under National E-Governance Service Delivery Assessment in 2019. Additionally, Jammu and Kashmir, Kerala, Assam and Odisha provide 100% of their services through their identified single unified service delivery portal. Lastly, the tourism sector achieved the highest saturation for provision of all mandatory e-services in 23 out of 36 states or UTs. Now let's delve into the significance of e-service delivery. For citizens, empowerment and participation and improved access to services by removal of intermediaries holds great importance. And significance for governments include informed data-driven decision-making, resource optimization and cost efficiency by reducing inclusion and exclusion errors. Apart from significance, there are also some challenges in providing e-services like digital divide, lack of standardization and interoperability, issue of change management due to bureaucratic inertia, and concerns related to cybersecurity. At last, if we talk about some best practices on e-service delivery, then these include e-Unnat in Jammu and Kashmir, which is a unified service delivery portal, Nivesh Mitra in Uttar Pradesh for ease of doing business, and Seva Sindhu in Karnataka, which delivers government services at doorsteps of citizens.
Moving on to the next news. Parliamentary Standing Committee report on review of the working of legal aid under the Legal Services Authorities Act 1987. The Legal Services Authorities LSA Act 1987 aims to establish a nationwide network for providing free and competent legal services to society's weaker sections. It gives effect to Article 39A, that is free legal aid to poor and weaker sections of the society. It constitutes National Legal Services Authority (NALSA) as apex organization which frames and monitors legal aid policies and activities. It also provides for setting up of Supreme Court and High Court legal service committees as well as state and district level legal services authorities. Activities of legal services authorities include legal aid and advice and implementing alternative dispute resolution. Further, let's talk about the identified issues with the Legal Service Authority Act or LSAA and their recommendations given by the committee. Let's start with the first issue, which is the lack of awareness and legal education. For this, the committee recommended an extensive mass media campaign for legal education. Coming on to the next issue, which is the static grants in aid to NALSA and decline in allocated funds, for which the committee has recommended substantial increase in grant in aid to NALSA. The reluctance of lawyers to provide pro bono services acts as another challenge, for which it was recommended that NALSA should compensate lawyers adequately and monitor efficacy and accountability of legal aid services. Furthermore, Lok Adalat face challenges due to limited powers, lack of proper procedure and inadequate infrastructure, for which strengthening of Lok Adalats with adequate powers, proper procedure, infrastructure, staffs and modern technology was recommended. Coming on to the last issue, that is underutilization of paralegal volunteers or PLVs assists in Legal Services Authority and Lok Adalats, for which the committee has recommended to build the capacity of PLVs along with adequate compensation and support.
Moving on to the next news. Supreme Court has criticized the National Green Tribunal trend of passing ex-parte orders. A division bench of Supreme Court was hearing an appeal against an ex-parte order in suo motu proceedings by National Green Tribunal, which directed appellants for payment of compensation. Ex-parte orders are those that can be granted without waiting for a response from the other side. Now let's discuss and understand the key observations of Supreme Court regarding National Green Tribunal. Recurrent engagement in unilateral decision-making, provisioning ex post facto review hearing, and routinely dismissing it has become a norm. Imposition of huge sums for damages proved to be counterproductive in safeguarding the environment. Also, the tribunal must ensure procedural integrity to ensure harmonious balance between justice and due process. Further, let's also talk about the National Green Tribunal. It is a statutory body established under National Green Tribunal Act 2010. It is a specialized body equipped with the necessary expertise to handle environmental disputes involving multidisciplinary issues. It is guided by principles of natural justice and is not bound by Code of Civil Procedure 1908 or Indian Evidence Act 1872. Its composition includes a chairperson who sits in the principal bench and heads the tribunal with at least 10 but not more than 20 judicial members and at least 10 but not more than 20 expert members. The National Green Tribunal possesses jurisdiction over a spectrum of civil cases outlined in pivotal environmental legislation including Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess Act 1977, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Environment Protection Act 1986, Public Liability Insurance Act 1991, and Biological Diversity Act 2002.
Moving on to the last news for the day. Detecting methane emissions from space in India. A study by Indian Space Research Organisation or ISRO. The study was conducted using satellite data to identify methane emission hotspots, marking it a first-of-its-kind effort in India. This study employed data from NASA's Earth Surface Mineral Dust Source Investigation or EMIT and European Space Agency Sentinel-5P Tropomy. Let us first have a look at some of its key findings. The enhancement of methane point sources are detected over various urban centers in India. Out of the total carbon emissions in India, 14.43% is attributed to methane. Also, the sewage outlet in central Mumbai, Ahmedabad's Pirana landfill and Surat's Khajod landfill are the three worst methane hotspots in India. Now, let's understand what the methane gas is. Methane or CH4 is a potent greenhouse gas with a global warming potential of 28 times higher than CO2 over the 100-year period. Also, it is the second largest contributor to climate change after CO2. Methane is a short-lived climate pollutant and has a more immediate and intense warming effect on atmosphere. It is also a key precursor gas of harmful air pollutant and tropospheric ozone. Now, let us get to know about the sources of methane. The methane gas can be acquired from solid waste or landfills, accounting for around 20% of India's anthropogenic methane emissions. Other than that, fossil fuels, that is leakage from natural gas, oil and gas field and oil refineries can act as a source. Also, from agriculture by the process of enteric fermentation from livestock rearing and rice cultivation. Lastly, wetlands and textile industries can also act as a source. Several initiatives have been taken to reduce methane emissions. First, let us talk about the global initiatives. The UNEP Global Methane Initiative further advancing cost-effective near-term methane abatement. The Global Methane Pledge to cut methane emissions by at least 30% by 2030 from 2020 levels, which is not signed by India. Now, let us come to the initiatives taken by India. The Galvanizing Organic Bio-Agro-Resources or Gobardhan scheme for the conversion of waste into resources and reduction of methane emissions. Lastly, the National Biogas and Manure Management Program, which helps capture and utilize methane emissions from organic waste sources. The place in news for today is Iceland with its capital Reykjavik. It is in news recently as a volcano has erupted in Iceland. Talking about its political features, it is an island country located in North Atlantic Ocean. It is also a part of the Nordic countries along with other Nordic countries, namely Denmark, Finland, Norway and Sweden. It is bounded by Greenland Sea to its north, Norwegian Sea to its east, Atlantic Ocean to its south and west, and Denmark Strait to its northwest. Talking about its geographical features, it is underlain by basalt, a dark rock of igneous origin. It lies on the mid-Atlantic ridge. The ridge is formed at divergent plate boundary where the North American plate and the Eurasian plate are moving away from each other. Its highest peak is Vanadal's Peak and its major river is Jorsa River.
As we conclude today's main news, let's take a look at some quick updates. Myanmar rebels' capture of Paletwa town adversely impacts Kaladan Multi-Modal Transit Transport Project. The project aims to provide connectivity between India and Myanmar from ports on India's eastern seaport to Myanmar's Sitwe port and further to northeast India. The union government launched 3 new initiatives under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. It is a comprehensive crop insurance from pre-sowing to post-harvest period. Initiatives under Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana include Krishi Rakshak portal and helpline number 14447, Learning Management System and Sarthi portal. Reserve Bank of India has mandated that all regulated entities provide a key fact statement to retail and MSME borrowers. Key fact statement is a document that clearly explains lending terms and has key information regarding a loan agreement in a simple and easy to understand format. It enhances transparency in lending and enables customers to make informed decisions. Telangana's State Board for Wildlife approved the corridor area between Tadoba and Andhari Tiger Reserve and Kaval Tiger Reserve as a conservation reserve. State Board for Wildlife is established under the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2002, headed by Chief Minister or Administrator in case of UT. Union Ministers of State for Health and Family Welfare launched Kilkari program for beneficiaries in local content in Gujarat and Maharashtra. Kilkari program is a centralized interactive voice response based mobile health service. It is centrally hosted by the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It delivers free, weekly, time-appropriate 72 audio messages about pregnancy, childbirth and childcare directly to families' mobile phones from the second trimester of pregnancy until the child is 1 year old. All India Council for Technical Education launched support to students for participating in competitions abroad to bolster global competitiveness of Indian students in technical education. Its objective is to provide travel assistance registration fee to a team of minimum 2 to 10 bachelor students for attending competition on scientific event at international level. Recently, natural gas flare samples collected in USA revealed high variation in nitrogen oxides emission estimates. Natural gas flare is the burning of the natural gas associated with oil extraction. The flare's combustion converts hydrocarbons to carbon dioxide and water. The process lessens the climate impact and reduces the safety concerns of the natural gas. Study of meteorite fragments from the asteroid 2024 BX1 found that they are part of Albright's meteorite. Meteor that reaches the Earth is called a meteorite. Albright's meteorite are rare meteorites originating from an extremely reduced differentiate parent body in the solar system. It was named after the meteorite which fell in 1836 near Aubris, France. They are coarse-grained igneous rocks formed under extremely reducing conditions or by little or no free oxygen. It contains a variety of exotic minerals not found on Earth. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.